This is the Houndsman XP Podcast.
Good dog, get that bear. Get that bear in here.
The original podcast for the complete Houndsman.
Look at your counter, go, Justin! We're gonna get him! We're gonna get him!
The podcast that represents our lifestyle of extreme performance.
Get up there! Get him! Get him! Yeah, good boy, Ranger!
Uniting houndsmen across the globe, from east to west, north to south.
You know, if you're going to catch a cat or a lion, you know, you have to have teamwork.
We take you to the wildest places on earth.
Yeah, so how many days a week can you spend in that?
As much as I can, to be honest with you. Anytime that I get, I'm out there.
Join us for every heart-pounding adventure on Houndsman XP.
I'll tell you like I tell everyone else, I'm going to hunt whether you're here or not, so you might as well be here.
In this episode of the Houndsman XP Podcast, you are going to get a sneak peek into what this crazy team of houndsmen at Houndsman XP talk about. This was originally recorded for a thing that we're going to roll out on our Patreon page called Tailgate Talks, but we wanted to give you, the listener, a sneak peek into what you will hear as a Patreon supporter of Houndsman XP. This is going to be bonus material type stuff. This is a long recording of us just sitting around shooting the bull, you know, cutting the hash, doing whatever, talking about all kinds of stuff. We kind of wander away from hound stuff at the beginning, but then we roll back into it. But these are the things that all types of hunters talk about. And we are going to start producing that as Tailgate Talk for you. By the time this podcast came out, our current Patreon supporters will have already heard the first Tailgate Talk session that was produced for you. So an episode like this, even though it's 56 minutes long, we are going to take conversations and topics and cut them down much shorter and give you bonus material as houndsmen. But this conversation was fun. You can tell that it's much more relaxed, but we talk about traditional hunting. We talk about big game hunting. We talk about flintlock rifles. We talk about traditional archery. We talk about cheddar brats, and we talk about all kinds of crazy stuff that should not go in the dishwasher. There is all kinds of stuff in this podcast that you're going to probably enjoy. I hope you get a lot of laughs out of it, but it was fun to make. So sit back and enjoy the podcast. And as always, thank you for your time. Thank you for spending your time with us at Houndsman XP.
Some venison, jalapeno cheddar brats I had to finish and had a bunch of leftovers. So
that sounds so
it's
good.
a leftover kind of night.
Every Sunday night we have family dinners, and this Sunday was at my house, so I cooked everyone elk and mule deer burgers. So they were pretty damn good, if I do say so myself.
Did you grind in bacon with them, or did you just serve?
You
them
got
straight?
it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not an animal, sir.
Because it's so lean.
Yeah, it's so lean. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Although, you guys, I killed an oryx 2 weeks ago. That guy I guided, and that oryx had 2-inch layer of fat running from the back of its neck to the base of its tail.
How?
I've never.
So you killed it? And
no,
not him?
my client did. My client did. Yeah. But yeah, how, Chris? I know that's something we were gonna talk about if we segue to it in the tailgate talk, because it was standing like 150 yards away from emaciated cattle, and that thing had a 2-inch layer of fat on its back. Like that's called superior physiology and like amazingness.
Hopefully that oryx had bred.
Oh, it did. That was about a 13-year-old female. Her teeth were probably a centimeter long.
All right.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. So she has definitely had babies. She was only 2 inches off from the state record, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. So my hunter was pretty freaking pumped.
That's so cool. Like it's like an African safari, but it's New Mexico.
Exactly. It's an hour from my house. Yeah. Not even an hour.
Yeah.
It was like 30 minutes from my front door. Yep.
It's like that hunt I went on down in Georgia. I talked about it on the podcast a couple weeks ago about the kudus running towards the fence and stuff. The giraffes. That was, are you guys still there or did I lose you?
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. So, that was, remember Big Jim from Mutual of Omaha? Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom? Probably way before your time.
I caught the tail end of that.
I think we're too young.
Yeah.
I caught the tail end of Mutual of Omaha, but I used to remember some episodes, but go ahead.
Yeah, Big Jim, that was actually his plantation. So he had all these exotic animals from around the world. There was like a baboon cage, but yours is even more cool because it's all open, free range.
Yeah, public land too.
Yeah.
Yep. 100% public land.
You guys hold on. I got to run outside, get my shot collar remote so I can shut Ridge up. Hold on.
Yeah, I figure we'll get recording soon, but when she comes back in. But yeah, it was all 100% on public land, and that's the blessing of New Mexico.
Yeah,
she's going to be one of those 60-year-old old ladies that are like, Ridge! Like,
shut up!
Exactly. You know, it's so funny. I love when we were talking about the podcast and you were talking about shut up, and you say hush. I say hush because I agree with you. There's just something so like redneck about just leaning out your window and being like, shut up. You know what I mean?
Shut up. That's reserved for me from my wife. You know, I don't want anybody to be confused.
Yes. Yeah,
so,
I'm a hush kind of guy, and it's so funny because my hounds, they shouldn't bark unless they see their quarry. So like they're real quiet until they see something, but they only bark. The only time my dogs make a peep is if they see something. But since I live out here in the open, there's rabbits hopping around all over the place, and so they go ballistic when they see one hopping around outside the fence, and I'm just like, I don't want to get mad at them for doing what they're supposed to do, but at the same time, I'm like, be silent right now, or I'm going to come out here and start bashing people.
Well, the crazy thing is we'll come right back in the house, and then flip on Instagram or Facebook and watch a video of hounds treeing.
Yes, exactly.
I'm back.
Yeah.
I've brought that up before.
We've heard you.
Yep.
We heard you, Ridge, shut up. And I was like,
Ridge!
You're going to be. Yeah. So,
That dog, oh my gosh. If he's chained outside the camper and I'm in the camper, everything's fine. But if he knows, and now he's in his crate in the camper, and he knows that I'm not by him, it's like the world's ending.
He's got a little separation anxiety going on.
Yep.
Well, guys, I want to tell you, I guess maybe if we need content, we'll save it, but I'm going to spot and stalk a bear this year with my flintlock on public, and I may do one under hounds as well this year, so I may have some sweet content coming up. But I've always wanted to stalk a bear with my flintlock. So anyway.
How close do you have to get for that?
The longest shot, I killed a feral goat at 88. I killed a deer at 82, and I killed 2 javelina at 50. So I don't no farther than 88. That's really my limit. I wouldn't shoot at an animal any past that. And I was comfortable shooting at that goat, but it's definitely not something I would try to go for all the time. I'm shooting I don't know how much you know about black powder, but Chris, I know you used to shoot traditional, but it's a 58 caliber. I'm shooting a hand casted soft lead ball, and I'm stoking at 120 double F. So it's cranking some velocity.
So you're priming the pan with the same powder that you're putting down the barrel?
No, I use 4F on the primer.
You realize that the original hunters primed out the same horn.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
You know, you can. I really don't get much slower ignition out of using 2F.
Oh.
But I just use the 4 because I got it, and it has more surface area. So when I'm hunting in high wind or something like that, I have a better chance of catching it in that little dust. But yeah, I've primed with 2F that I've just used a rock to kind of crush it a little bit finer. I've primed straight up 2F. I've primed 3F when I just have it available. Yeah, you can both.
You can take like your napping hammer from your flint, and when you pour your 2F in the pan, just use the backside of the napping hammer and crush it up a little bit finer. golden.
Yep.
I quit buying and I quit carrying a priming horn or anything. I primed and loaded out of the same horn.
You know what? You should hit that record button. But also,
it's already
I'll tell you
on.
right. Oh, there you go. Great.
Yeah, I'm
Great.
already rolling.
Well, welcome everyone to Houndsman XP Tailgate Talk. Yeah, so like when it comes, I'm to preface it, I've been hunting with a flintlock now for 5 years. Traditional muzzleloader 5 years, flintlock 2. I've killed 3 deer, an oryx, 3 javelina, and a feral goat with flintlock or traditional muzzleloader.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, the when I prime it, I've always had that little priming horn. But when I was elk hunting last, I'll tell you right now, man, that was my first time big game hunting with my flinter. And the flintlock has such an intense learning curve. To anyone that's listening and wants to get into traditional hunting, start with a percussion gun, because they are 10 times less forgiving than a modern gun, but 100 times more forgiving than a flintlock. And I'll tell you, Chris, I had the elk at 85 yards closing in on me, a cow elk. It turned broadside at 70. I was rested on a tree. I was rock solid. My gun's putting really great groups in. If I'm on a solid rock solid rest, I'm hitting clay pigeons on the ground at 85 all day long. So I knew I could put one right in the spot. And then the elk winded me somehow. I don't know. I thought I had the wind right, but the wind swirled to my back. I think obviously it did. The elk turned to me straight on. Obviously, never take a frontal shot with a traditional rifle. You're never going to do enough damage. It doesn't do that hydraulic damage to really just total something as large as an elk, even if it is 58 caliber, which is what I was shooting. But then the elk took off. Well, later that day, I wanted to discharge my round and shoot. Like, this is about 20, 30 minutes later when I was hiking back. I wanted to discharge my round and swab because we were done for that session, and I misfired. What had happened was all my priming powder had fallen out of my pan from me not being very diligent when I was resting, and I set the gun up against a tree or something, and over about 3 hours, all that priming powder had fallen out. So now I'm like,
you need to tune your lock.
Yeah, that's what I found out. So like
Yeah.
I had this tiny little air gap between my frizzen, like where my frizzen came over the top. It had this tiny little air gap between my touch hole and my frizzen top, like the cap. And so I retuned that spot and got it closed down. But now I'm super anal. Like even before I start a stalk, I'll like flip open that frizzen and make sure my pan is still loaded and shut it.
Well, I'm gonna go back, circle around to the statement you made about using a percussion gun. For one thing, nipples belong on women, not on rifles. But beyond that, do you really think that anybody that was alive in the 18th century had the opportunity to use a percussion gun before they used a flintlock? Just pick up the flintlock and rock and roll, man. You don't need to ease into it. Just
counter you with that's what they had. That's what they had all the time. So you were raised shooting that flintlock. But in today's world, who do you know besides me that religiously shoots a flintlock? Nobody. So I had to learn the mistakes.
No, see, I know several people.
Yeah, in the East Coast, you guys have a lot more traditional heritage. But when
you guys are just speaking rocket science to me right now.
Yeah, the East Coast has designated flintlock seasons, but in the West Coast, I'm out here hunting with all these crazy modern inlines, and I'm just going to say it. This may bother some people, but those inlines, I mean, they're essentially single shot centerfire rifles anymore. Especially some of the ones that they're building now. There's a real famous inline builder here that works with my brother actually in the ballistics lab at NASA, and he custom builds inline muzzleloaders that are putting pie plate groups out at 550.
Well, yeah, they're shooting modern smokeless powder with rifle primers and all of that stuff, just so that they can fit into the legal definition of a muzzleloading firearm, so they can extend their season. Which, like it or hate it, there's more hunters in the field. Like it or hate it, we go back to the podcast we recorded. The woods is big enough for all of us, so.
Exactly.
It's better than not being able to hunt at all or have to sneak around to hunt. So at this point...
and still the amount of people that do muzzleloader season in addition is still very slim.
Well, it's gaining popularity quickly because people want to take advantage of that season with an incredibly effective firearm, which, again, I never ever disparage an inline hunter because that's just not who I am and that's not what I'm all about. But at the same time, I'm just going to be disgruntled and do my thing. But there's also a pride element of knowing you're doing it the right way and the hard way. I don't even know if right way is too audacious to say, but the
Probably
hard way
is
is absolutely. Yeah, but the hard way is absolutely applicable. And, you know, I've shook hands with some guys out there. That's usually what I love about public land hunting is most people you come across are super friendly out there and they're just psyched to see other people and hang out and talk. And when those inline dudes roll up on me with my, you know, I got a 42-inch barrel on my gun. That gun's 5 feet long. And they're like,
Holy
whoa.
cow.
They're like, that's pretty badass, dude. And I'm like, yeah, thanks, man. Like, I mean, I don't get all snobby about it, but I'm happy to be doing it the traditional way. And it's really tough here in the West. We don't have a lot of the cover here, especially in the desert. It took me almost 5 hours to get in range on my second deer I killed with it. And it was only about a 400-yard stalk, but I was doing it on my belly, and a 5-foot long gun is not exactly the easiest thing to sneak under bushes that are only 3 feet tall.
Well, the thing that we have to be careful of, I think, is stand there with your 5-foot rifle and take the pride in it that you know that you're doing it that way. And I think we can all become, it doesn't matter whether we're talking breeds of dogs, we're talking about, well, I don't ride a side-by-side, I always walk, or, you know, whatever it is, you know, we can become snobs. And I see that a lot. I saw that a lot in my professional life. You know, people are like, well, yeah, I'm hunting with traditional archery equipment, or I'm hunting with a flintlock, or I'm doing this. So somehow this elevates me. It's the same way with modern religion about what church you go to. You know, the Baptists don't like the way the Nazarenes do it, and the Nazarenes doesn't like the Church of Christ. And we're all here for the same common goal, folks.
It's just like be happy that they're out there getting after it and enjoying what God gave us.
Which I definitely am. Yeah, like I said, I always shake hands and smile, and I'm real happy to see and meet people. And like I said, 98% of people are real friendly. You know, one time we were hunting deer. Actually, I missed a buck that day with my flinter. It was the best stalk I've ever given a big game animal in my entire life. I stalked a bedded mule deer from behind, and he flushed at 12 yards. So it was pretty awesome. But my buddy Alfonso got it all on film too. But
well, see, I could be a snob. I could be a snob right now and say, you know, mule deer are stupid. If you hunt eastern whitetails and then you go out and you hunt a mule deer, you know, mule deer are stupid. You know, but they're not stupid. It's just a different animal to hunt, and the terrain's different, and things
they've
like
adapted under way less pressure than those whitetail have. You know what I mean?
Oh
like the whitetail are so cunning because there's so many people trying to smoke them, and these muleys live out in really remote areas where they really don't get shot at very often.
Right.
So yeah. But anyway,
I just think it was cool to see my first mule deer when we were out on the Navajo Nation. Like, I just like to,
awesome.
to see them.
I can't believe you saw
and here
one.
I am. Yeah, it was a big one too. I never posted a picture. But here I am, like literally the only thing I've ever killed is a raccoon. So
no, I mean, that's
I'm
the thing.
just like meager Lauren, just hanging out.
And that's never to disparage rifle hunters either. You know, we were coming around to it is because I started off with a rifle, and I still think they're incredibly effective and humane. And anytime I'm talking to people that are kind of on the fence about hunting, there's a lot of people that think bow hunting is the most pure and superior form of hunting as far as like ethics of hunting go. And I'm saying, you know, bow hunting is awesome. I'm a bow hunter. I love bow hunting. But if you're trying to be the maximum efficiency in the forest, nothing defeats a centerfire. Like, I mean, they're just a superior hunting tool. And I love them too. I love all hunting. Let's just say that. That's why I wanted to, you know, talk about it. I'm just a huge geek about black powder, and I think traditional muzzleloading and archery have a lot in common as far as, you know, shooting and fundamentals go. But
why do we get up? Why do you get uptight? I mean, why do hunters get uptight about seeing somebody with an inline? Because they're afraid that somebody is going to interfere with them. I mean, I'm no different. When I'm out there with my flintlock, I like to daydream about being Simon Kenton and being the only white man for, you know, 300 miles and living this romantic lifestyle. But when it really boils down to it, I've never had anybody really mess something up to the point that it just ruined the whole hunt. You know, that's just a person looking for an excuse to have a bad day.
I agree. And that's why I always stay friendly. Like you're saying, if you want my opinion, because man, the woods is big enough for all of us, like especially in New Mexico. The unit I put in for that I killed 2 of my bucks in, the unit is one unit of, I think, 53 in New Mexico. And this one unit is 107 miles long and 40 miles wide, and 98% of it's public land. So you literally can go and never see another human being. There's only 70 tags given out for that entire season right there. So that's not a problem to never see a human. It's just that I guess what I feel is that, like, you put in all this time and dedication to master something as difficult as a traditional muzzleloader, and then you feel that it's cheapened when someone can do it at a more I guess that's how I feel. It's like, again, this is a light conviction. If anything, I don't really get upset about it or, whatever, but like,
stand your ground.
I think
I'm going to argue with you.
Yeah, I am. And so it's like, I think it's BS that the spirit, the core value of muzzleloader season has been violated by these ultra modern, super high tech weapons that mimic a centerfire in every way, but load through the front. They even load their primers through a bolt action in the back. Like, right. It's just a violation of everything that the black powder season was set aside for. Well, humble opinion.
Couldn't you say the same thing about archery equipment, though? I mean, you go from...
I think the disparaging...
You go from the Osage self bow, the guy that's making... have you ever read any of Saxton Pope and Art Young stuff or Fred Bear's stuff? Any of that stuff? Have you ever read any of that?
I love Fred Bear. Yeah, Fred Bear is amazing. Yeah, I've read lots of Fred Bears.
Have you ever heard of Ishii? You ever heard the name Ishii?
He's a famous archery hunter, correct?
He was the last Native American in California. He actually came walking out of the mountains and walked down into civilization. He was the last surviving member of his tribe. Don't ask me what the tribe was and of his clan. He walks out of the mountains he walks out of basically a Stone Age lifestyle, walks down the mountains to the 1900s, the 20th century. So he had seen stuff. He had seen trains. He had seen, heard different sounds that he didn't recognize and all that stuff. But Ishii walks down. Well, he becomes a study piece. Art Young was a philanthropist and a professor, I believe, at UC Berkeley. And so Art Young was also into archery. So he started doing a study on Ishii. And he documented this whole thing, and he talks about how he hunted, and he was the first traditional archer, for real traditional archer, that Art Young had ever met. And so he documents this whole book and this whole study on Ishii. So it's a fascinating story, but think about Ishii and what he thought when he saw Art Young's U-bow, when Ishii had been up there, scraping out bows with a rock and making sinew strings and making arrows out of reeds and napping his own points and using birds and fletching his own arrows out of crow feathers, raven feathers.
Okay, first off, I want to be there. Okay, that's what I want to be. Next, Ishii was a Yahi people. He was a Yahi Native American. I just looked it up. So if anyone was curious.
Yep.
And everything you just said was confirmed by the Wikipedia page. So congratulations. You did a very good job. But
it can't be wrong.
It's always so correct.
Hey,
Wikipedia
absolutely. Is pretty amazing. But anyway, yeah. The way I would counter that is that the difference between Ishii's bow and your U-long bow and even a modern compound is still much less of a disparagement between an inline shooting 500 and my flintlock shooting 85 to 100. A compound bow, honestly, unless you're a master or you're taking really like crazy kamikaze shots, you're still only shooting, 60 yards. And a stick bow, 25, 30. But that's a big difference between 80 and 550. That's just a whole nother level of skill, even with a compound, that you need over any other form of hunting. Even the most modern bows, you still have to get in within 100, and the skill that required to get in. To me, this is like my friend who's a flintlock hunter that I finally met. He says real hunting doesn't start until you're under 125.
Agreed.
And so
Archery
that's how I
hunters-
feel.
Archery hunters will tell you the same thing, and traditional bow hunters will even say under 80. You know,
Yeah,
that's when the hunting starts.
And I agree fully. I mean,
Yep.
look at all my first traditional kills were all at 88, 85, 82, like right around that 80-yard mark. And so when I was really proud when I, started killing animals at 40 and 50 with my flinter, So anyway, I don't want to just sit here and like self-adulate all day long. I was looking at my flintlock and I was like, I cannot wait to use that thing. I got a deer hunt and a bear hunt. And so I'm really excited to take a bear with my flinter and a deer with my flinter this year. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
you ought to do
And
it.
you said you want to do one with hounds too. So like, how many bear takes can you draw? How does that work?
So you can do 2. So there's no draw for the bear in all hound hunting in New Mexico is done by over the counter. There's no draw season for hound hunting. Yeah. So I guess the way they've New Mexico is a really hound friendly state, and I want to keep it that way. So we're always on the lookout to protect it. But like, the thing is like, why would you raise hounds year round if you only get to hunt 5 days a year? So the thing is the way New Mexico manages its bear population is you have bear management units, and there's a set quota of bears that can be harvested in each unit, or a set number of females that can be harvested.
There you go.
And so whichever
That's a
one
good
reaches
topic.
first, so whichever one is reached first, that unit is now closed. And
Yeah.
so when you harvest a bear, you have to bring it to the nearest game and fish office and have its pelt tagged and a tooth removed from its skull so they can show that it was harvested legally. And you can go out, but a guiding outfit can take out as many people as they want as long as the person that is harvesting the bear is the license holder. But you as an individual, I believe, can only harvest 2 bears, possibly only 1. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up in the rules. But New Mexico, same with lions and bears. With bears, we have a pretty long season. It's August to whenever the bears go to den, which is like November, in some units late November, and mountain lions year round. So there is no pursuit or training season. You can just go mountain lion hunting anytime you want. Same with bobcats. You can only harvest bobcats in the fall, but you can chase all year round. So, and then of course all your varmints are all year round with dogs. So,
So a mountain lion is still classified as a varmint in New Mexico.
No, sir, it's considered game.
Okay, is there a quota?
There is. Yep, it's exact same as bears.
Okay.
And so that's the biggest. I don't want to say defense because it makes it sound like we're in a fight, but like the biggest defense for hound hunting is that like we're incredibly selective. And I know in the short time I've been in the hound hunting world for 5 years, I've immersed myself in as many different styles as I can. And I'll tell you right now, a scent hound hunter will kick your butt if they catch you killing female mountain lions, because that will close the unit down for everyone quick, and there'll be less mountain lions for everybody.
But
So
if you get around a group of big game hunters, lion hunters, they will complain about people getting this season shut down because of female quotas being filled.
exactly.
So say a unit has a 10 mountain lion quota, but 3 of those can be females. As soon as those 3 females get tagged, that unit's closed.
Right.
for-
That's
for
why they
harvest.
get mad when females
Yeah.
get shot. Yeah.
Yeah. So if all these houndsmen are out there and they're saying, I'm going to kick anybody, who's killing the female lions? Who's doing it?
It's spot and stock hunters typically, and bait. Bait's illegal in New Mexico of any kind, but spot and stock
So-
hunters mostly.
Do you think it's because they can't? I mean, you should be able to tell the difference between a tom and a, what do they call females?
Man, that's a good question. What is a female? I should know that.
A female
I would
cat.
call it a female. Yeah.
Kitty.
I know, like you
Kidding.
can tell if it's an adult. You can measure the track length if there's snow and stuff like that. But it's maybe if you're doing the spot and stock, you're not putting it up a tree, so you don't have
That's
as
right.
much
That's it. You have no ability to
time
set some.
or ability to. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
So
that's the
that's
thing.
why hound hunting is awesome.
It is
Right.
awesome, and that's a great segue
Ethical.
to say, there's no other time that you're going to get a chance to evaluate your quarry than when you have it treed with hounds.
That's
but
right.
going back to the spot and stalk, we often say you really never know, like if you're spotting that black bear. For instance, a couple weeks in Idaho, we're out there. glassing, boom, we find a bear on the side of a mountain. That thing had to be 1.5 miles or 2 miles away. And man, that's a big bear. You know, we could tell by the size of the tree. It was right. It's like, wow, that's got to be a boar. It's so big. And as we're sitting there, so, well, we're talking to people that look at black bears in Idaho all the time, and they've not seen bears of that size.
Yeah.
So, as we sit there and we glass some more, now you see this little black speck following, and then you see a little brown speck following. So it was actually a sow. So by effective glassing, you can disseminate some of that stuff, but still it's risky business, not like when you've got quarry up a tree, especially with lions.
Mm-hmm. That's the reason biologists always use houndsmen to get our data, that or hair traps.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Yep. You know,
biggest friend of biology and predators are houndsmen for sure, and the good old fashioned hair trap.
And then they DNA the hair, I'm guessing, to determine if it's male or female. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
The stable isotope studies have changed everything in predator biology because we can now do diet analysis and we can build a population in the area based on these hair traps, and it's an incredibly low stress way to build up your population in the area. So, yeah, it's awesome. Yep.
Well, you often hear houndsmen say, you know, they've got the female quotas too high, or they've got this, something's out of whack. Like the biologist doesn't know what he's doing. And what do you say to that, Seth?
When the DNA says that there's more bears than what someone will be like, I know there's 50 bears in here, and they say there's only 3. That's BS. I see a bear every day. Is that what you mean?
No, I'm saying you get a group of houndsmen, and we're taking some liberty here. You know, I've said it before. Why are the female quotas so high in this unit? We're not seeing that many lions. Why? How do they set quotas?
So okay, I'm going to go out on a limb here because I don't work with predators and I don't work with any predator biology, but I'm just going to go about what I learned in school, and my friend who is a predator biologist, they use a lot of the hair trap sampling data, and they use a lot of historical data and trends, and they also use on-the-ground surveys and reports. And so, you know, if there's an abundance of prey, you can correlate between the abundance of lions, and also in traditional areas that have traditionally high populations of lions, we'll have a higher quota. And so that's about as honest, and I'm not willing to go much farther because I'm not on the ground making those survey calls.
But basically what's happening is these biologists are collecting information from multiple sources.
Oh, yeah. So
bringing it all together, and then they are making the hypothesis of how many female lions can be taken out of this unit, still be good for the resource, not overly impact the resource, be good for the predator-prey ratios, be good for the ungulate population. I mean, you think about all of that. It's not just some arbitrary sit-down, well, we killed 6 females there last year. Let's go ahead I think we can up it a couple. Let's go to 8 this year. You know?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have dozens and dozens of those hair traps out all the time. And again, like there's a lot of data that's flowing through. I mean, my buddy's an aphis hunter and he hunts coyotes, but he also contributes a lot of data to disease sampling and things. And that's all they do. I mean, all they do is sample population densities of carnivores in the area: foxes, coyotes, bobcats, lions, bears. So yeah, it's a really honed science. And sometimes, you know, quotas move, but in case anyone's wondering, the reason that the female quota is so low is that mountain lion females have a lot smaller home range than males, and one tom can move through and impregnate all the females in a given area. But if you lose females, you're going to take a long-term hit on that population. So obviously taking out breeding age females is frowned upon. So that's why the quota is so low. I mean, it's not unsporting, right? It happens, but it's definitely not something you want to be doing all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't killed a mountain lion or anything yet, but I'm happier when I kill a boar coon than I am a sow, because I still want to keep that population alive because I like hunting where I'm hunting.
Yeah, I'm the same way with jackrabbits, and jackrabbits are like legendary for their breeding rate, right? But at the same time, jackrabbits actually breed a lot slower than cottontails do, because hares have a lot different biology than rabbits do. And so, when I kill a female, no matter what, I'm bummed. Like, it's just the unfortunate side of hunting, and dogs can't discriminate, and you can't sex a hare at 50 miles an hour. Like, it's not happening. So when a hare comes up, you're like, hey, there's one, get him, dogs. And the race is on, and we're hollering like monkeys and pedal to the metal. Let's do it.
They're not
It was
easily.
so cool.
They're not as easily to do a gender test as the ground squirrels we talked about.
A scrotal male hare is pretty amazing, but nothing like those ground squirrels.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was so excited. I saw a snowshoe hare for the first time up here. I don't know why I haven't seen them like in years before, but when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, I want to go after it!" Like I was like, jump out of the truck.
So you guys know how there's like?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
Steve.
Seth.
So do you know how there's like a big 5 for every? Like there's like a big whatever number in quotations. So you have like the big 5 in Africa, or you have like the big 4 in big or sheep hunting. It's like the big whatever. There is a big 5 that Dutch salmon kind of made up for hare coursers, and it's the 5 species of North American hares. And you actually have to travel an insane amount of distance to complete it. And does anyone know the 5 species of North American hare?
No, but it sounds like kind of like the Grand Slam of turkey hunting.
Grand Slam, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
So
I would
there's the
say
whitetail, blacktail. Oh, go ahead.
And then you got the cottontail.
Nope, they're not hares. Those are rabbits.
Okay.
Well, okay. So snowshoe, jackrabbit.
There's 3 kinds of jackrabbit.
Oh well.
Let's just get down scientific here.
You don't even want me to break out scientific names. That's just when it gets embarrassing and nerdy, and you guys are going to turn the podcast off.
So indulge us, Seth.
Okay,
not in the scientific names.
No. I have standards. Okay, here we go. There's the black-tailed jackrabbit. There's the white-tailed jackrabbit. There's the antelope jackrabbit. There's the snowshoe hare, and there's the white-sided jackrabbit. And those are all 5.
Is the
How are you going to course? How are you going to? Go ahead.
I was just going to ask.
Are you thinking the antelope one is like the jackalope?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the antelope jackrabbit is the largest hare in North America, possibly in the world. I can't remember. But a male can weigh up to 13 pounds. So they are pretty big.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
You'll turn around and put some ninja moves on a dog. Better have a kill dog with you.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how you'd course a snowshoe hare.
Yeah, so they actually are very easy to catch if conditions are pretty ideal. If you catch them when it's light snowfall, they're pretty easy to catch with greyhounds because they're not evolved to run from such incredibly fast. Their number one predators are lynx, so they're not really evolved for these unbelievable feats of long distance, high speed endurance like a blacktail or a whitetail is.
I mean, they've just got 17 or whatever inch beagles running after them up here.
Yeah, and so black-tail jackrabbit is an 8-pound animal that can run almost 50 miles an hour, and they can sustain that speed for 3 minutes straight without slowing down. So it's pretty badass. They're so cool. I really do think they're one of the coolest animals ever. Like I was telling Chris, it's 113 at my house right now, and they can go their entire life without drinking a single drop of standing water. I don't even know how it defies logic. They're sitting out there under heat. The ground temperature is 135 on the sand, 140 earlier today. And they're just sitting there under a bush waiting for it to cool down. So
I know I just re-listened to our podcast with Andrea today, or at least a part of it, and you said that about not drinking water.
That's crazy.
They're crazy. A lot of animals here are like that, actually. And oryx, the not invasive. Well, some people will say they're invasive, but I don't. The introduced African gazelle to New Mexico's public lands here in the summer. I mean, this is an animal the size of a small horse. Males can get about 800 and 900 pounds. Females can get around 500, 600 pounds. They can go in the hottest part of summer right now. They can go about 11 days without water. So for an animal that size to go that long without water is pretty incredible. And in the wintertime, they can go months without water. It's
like the American camel.
Yeah, they're amazing. And their ability to utilize ultra harsh environments to suit them is incredible. They're masters of survival, really. I mean, they can just, it'll be 95 degrees outside and you'll see 5 of them just standing out there grazing and you're just like, what? How is this even possible? And they're evolved to live in a really brutal place, the Kalahari. So their skin, a bull oryx has thicker skin than a cow oryx, and his skin on his back, where his shoulders would be, it's about 1.5 inches thick. And that's so when lions jump on his back, they don't tear him up. So you have to have a really good skinning knife to get through those bad boys. If you want to do
not my kitchen paring knife.
No.
You can't pack that along.
Yeah, you can't bring your coonskin and knives with you, Lauren.
I just took
it's
a guy
just
out.
one. It's just one knife.
I need to know which one it is in case there's ever a dinner at your house.
I mean, I scrub it and put it through the dishwasher.
Hey, my dad would say that always sanitized dishes in the dishwasher,
That's
so
right.
that was his thing. So
Well, I put a lot of stuff in the dishwasher. Like I'll sanitize the dog collars. You know, I put my just like your regular like dishes.
I've never
clean
sanitized a
dishes
dog collar.
When it gets real stinky, you put it in the dishwasher.
I never thought about that.
define stink.
Like if they've rolled in some nasty dead animals.
I'm not putting that in my
That's it.
dishwasher. That's why I got buckets and
all
bleach.
gets clean.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I've tried. I've scrubbed it and I've done vinegar and all this stuff, and I'm like, I can still smell it, especially with that brass nameplate on there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I put a lot of stuff in the dishwasher.
Oh,
I don't
my
know.
goodness.
I don't know what else, but
My pointer
Yeah.
pit bull loves rolling in carcasses. I mean, like she will smell a carcass out.
Put her in the
Run up.
dishwasher.
I've thrown her by her scruff and her tail into like cattle stock tanks and things like that. But like my greyhounds, they're like giant cats. They see that carcass and they're like, yuck. They like put their nose up and walk away. And I'm like, good dogs. Heck yes. Like, so, but they hate baths so much. I've never seen dogs that hate water more than my greyhounds. My Saluki, he doesn't mind. He'll get in the water, sort of, kind of. My greyhounds hate water so much that even if there's a puddle on the floor, they won't step in it. And if you wet the ground to make like cool mud for them to lay in, they will not lay in it. They hate that water that much. It's crazy.
I mean, if it's raining outside, my dogs and I'm like, go to let them out, they're like, no. And I have to like force them outside, and then they're like standing under the porch. I'm like, come on, like I'm not dealing with this right now.
Yeah,
but they don't mind baths, but that's because they get, their massage and everything.
Mm-hmm.
They get a bath.
Yeah, I don't
And
bathe.
Cedar swam for the first time up here. When I got to Ashland, we went to the beach that's right like in town, Lake Superior, and there was this guy like wading out in the water, and she just went. Like never been in the water before, and just went. And I was like, oh my God, it was so cool.
It was
awesome.
hot too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because you had her covered up in some kind of beach wrap or something in that one.
Oh,
picture.
that was a different beach. That was like a week later.
Oh, okay.
Or 5 days later. No, I had her covered up in the towel. I brought her to the beach, and she was the best dog at the beach. She just stayed there. I didn't even need to tell her to stay. But the flies were just so bad. So I just covered her up. She was happy as a clam.
Okay, so here's my question to the houndsmen here, hounds people. So, Chris, honestly, do you bathe your dogs? And if so, how often? Because, well, why don't you start?
I think there's going to be a difference between those who bring their dogs inside occasionally and those who do not.
Yeah, see, my dogs live inside. So, well, they don't live inside. They come inside every day. So I'll be we'll see. Chris, how often do you bathe your dogs? And why if you don't, or rarely?
Okay,
Like,
so,
why?
all right. When Mongo and I headed out west last year, and he was going to ride in the front of the truck because it was going to be extremely cold, then Mongo got a bath. Actually, he got a shower. I rode with him the first leg of the trip, and we stopped. Where we stopped? Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And I'm not going to name the motel in case they're looking for me. So we get in.
Ruin that bathroom.
Yeah, we get in there. And so I just take him right in the shower with me, and I'm scrubbing him up. And then the shower starts filling up because there was so much hair that came off of him. It was clogging the drain.
Like, what kind of man party was in this shower?
Exactly.
That's what the people thought.
And I was just like, holy
Some
cow.
weird hair.
So now I'm taking the drain cover off, and I'm plunging the drain and stuff. So I didn't get charged for it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was bad.
Okay,
So-
so why did
Oh,
he get
man.
that though? Why did you give him that? Just because he thought you needed one, or he was cold, or what? What was the deal?
Because he was riding in the front of the truck with me. Well, he rode from here to South Dakota with me, and he rode in the dog box. Okay, so I didn't have to deal with the funk in the truck. And but I knew leaving South Dakota and it was sub-zero weathers. He was actually traveling by himself. If I'd have had two dogs in the box,
I
one
was
side
going
of
to
the
say,
box.
so the other one's got the short end of the stick?
No, I just took Mongo on that initial trip.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
he was riding by himself in the dog box. If there were two dogs in there, I wouldn't have done it because two dogs will keep each other warm in that dog box. But he was riding by himself, and I thought, I'm not going to make him. That's just too cold, too much air. He's going to ride up front with me. And he did. He rode the rest of the way. We had to pull over a couple times, and set some rules up, and him know what part of the truck he was allowed in and which part was my part. He wanted to get up front and help me drive a couple times.
Yeah, well, I've got like a Piper acts like a beagle and in that center console and wants to just sit on that center console.
Mm-hmm.
And on a big truck, that's fine. Like there's plenty of room. But I drive a Tacoma. It's, I don't know, 10 inches wide.
Yeah, I feel your pain.
So
exactly.
it's just funny.
Yeah. Imagine 3 dogs trying to get into the console to look out the windshield for rabbits. That's how mine are every time. I have to I need a camper shell badly or a dog box with my Tacoma because I just cannot have 4 dogs in the back of my Tacoma, like in the back seats.
Yeah, you need a dog box. Just a
I
little
do.
light dog box.
Yes, exactly.
So Chris, is there any other, besides when a dog gets skunked or something, or you don't really show your dogs in bench shows, really, right?
Yeah, but if I'm going to breed days and stuff like that, I do bathe them. I take them to the pond. I swim them a lot, and when I take them to the pond, then I'll take a thing of flea and tick shampoo with me and just scrub them down and stuff like that, and swim with them and things like that. But if I'm going to town, if I'm going to a breed days or something like that, I'm going to clean those dogs up. I'm going to have my truck washed. I'm going to have all my equipment cleaned up, rolling in like I own the place. Let the dogs strut their stuff. So
Just an illusion.
Yeah,
that's right.
Anytime in this household I go to breed days, I better bathe beforehand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Did I cut out for that? I hope I did.
No.
No,
Not at all.
We'll make sure
My
we leave
internet
that
was
in
going
there.
out.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah. Real quick, Lauren, what about you?
People probably think that I bathe them more than I do. It's when they get stinky. If they've gone hunting and I haven't been able to get them clean from up here, we get that mucky mud smell from the swamp, and it's a really bad smell. So if I've gone to a competition hunt or what hunt, they'll probably spend the night outside, and then the next day I'll bathe them.
Got it.
I'll bathe them.
Yeah,
before
I
a
don't
show.
bathe mine really ever. Even my little pets. My wife's like pets. I just unless they roll in something. Yeah, my greyhounds they have no undercoat and no.
Did I lose you guys?
You lost Seth for a second.
I lost Seth for a second.
Okay.
Well, hey,
Great.
This is a tailgate talk. We're not going to turn it into a podcast. And
good point.
Yeah,
So easy. Yeah.
yeah, we can go on, but we do need to get together, the 3 of us, and do this more often. We're going to be rolling these tailgate talks out. It's bonus material for our Patreon sponsors, and just chatting about dog stuff, telling funny stories, and catching up. So, Lauren, you have fun in bear
I
camp.
have
Be
stories
safe.
to tell.
I bet you do. I bet you do. But
we're going out hunting in the morning. So
Good.
I
Good luck.
took
Good luck.
vacation all day tomorrow.
Ooh, that sounds awesome.
Yep.
I'm jealous. I'm so jealous.
Keep us posted, Lauren.
Will do.
All right, Seth. Talk
Yes,
to you
sir.
later. We will.
See ya, buddy.
All right. You follow your hounds. I'll follow mine.